Hello and welcome to Just Vintage Crochet. Okay, so I don't want to wait any longer to make this pattern. I have been waiting for a week for a vintage Tunisian crochet hook to come in. This is a modern hook that I bought at Joann's several months ago. It's a 6mm. It's the wildest thing. I bought the hook on eBay. The hook went from New York to Phoenix. I live in Arizona. It went from New York to Phoenix in 2 days. And I thought, cool, I'm going to get this hook in tomorrow or the next day. It lived in Phoenix for 2 days. Then when I went back to check the tracking, thinking, surely I'm going to get this tomorrow then. No, it went to Vegas. It went from Phoenix to Vegas. It's been in Vegas for 3 days. So it went from being 6 hours from me to being 2 hours from me. And I can't simply just go and get it. So I got to start with this, but at some point in this video, you will see me change hooks. Okay, I was inspired to make this pattern that we're going to work on today by Engineering Knits. I was just cruising through the YouTubes when Engineering Knits video was suggested to me, and I thought to myself, I know that bag. I've seen that bag. I have that pattern. So I watched her video, and she did a expert, phenomenal job. And I felt like, oh, I want to make that too now. So here I am, inspired by Miss Ma'am over at Engineering Knits, and let's find that pattern. Okay, here is what she made. This is a bag for knitting. That's the knitting needles poking out of both sides. And I absolutely love the way her bag turned out. And I had seen this bag in this book many times. And so I thought to myself, well, what am I waiting for? So let's just jump right in and see if I can make my bag as good as she made hers. Okay, so the colors I'm going to go for are going to be pretty close to the colors that the pattern calls for. The pattern calls for a cherry color and then 2 shades of green, a ribbon to match the cherry color, and then of course 2 rings, 2 small rings to work on either side for the hooks to come out of. But much like over at Engineering Knits, I don't have any rings, so I'm just going to, like she did, make it work. Okay, so let's jump right in. And yes, I know this is not a green. I do have 2 shades of green, but they just don't look very vintage or very antique. So I opted for a gray that complements the green very well. Okay, and this pattern calls for a number 10 tricot crochet needle, which means knitting needle with a hook, okay? And I have all of that information here in this Stitch Term Hook and Thread Yarn Reference Teaching Guide. This little packet, which you can find down below, is going to give you hook conversion charts, yarn and thread conversion charts. It's going to go over the stitch terms. It's going to go over everything you need to help you get through an antique pattern. We even go over the bell gauge right there. And I even threw in a handful of Victorian era patterns so that you can practice using this packet. It's really, really wonderful. It's all right here. It is a great teaching guide for those who are very enthusiastic about antique crochet, Victorian era crochet. Okay. It wants us to begin with the cherry colored wool with 50 chains. Now with Tunisian crochet, you don't have to chain anything extra for a turning chain. What you chain is exactly what you're going to keep unless you work some increases or decreases. So 50 chains is 50 stitches. Now just a quick little teaching moment here. A lot of this is based on knitting. Tunisian is largely based on knitting, and in knitting, that's a stitch right there, that one loop. Now, in crochet, we never count the loop on our hook as a stitch, but we say that specifically because of knitting. And in knitting, that's a stitch. So every single time you have a bar on your hook, that is a stitch. So that's one stitch. We go to collect the next bar over. Now there are 2 stitches on the hook. Here we go. Now there are 3 stitches on the hook, and that is why they call those stitches instead of loops. Okay, start with a chain of 50. Okay, 50 chains. So we're just going to collect all of our stitches in the usual Tunisian crochet fashion, collecting all of our stitches. There we go. I would say you need at least a 10-inch long Tunisian hook for this. Unless you have a set with cables, then you're fine. No worries. So I think the smallest cable is like 16 inches, I think. Don't quote me on that. Okay, so we're going to work 4 rows in plain Tunisian crochet. So that's going to be the Tunisian simple stitch. So all 50 of our stitches are now on the hook. Just yarn over and pull through. Just once, that's our chain 1. Then yarn over and pull through 2, all the way to the end. And a tip to help keep your Tunisian clean on both sides, to where one stitch is super floppy loose, but on this end it's nice and tight. Try to keep this stitch here tight and close to the hook. Don't worry about how tight you keep this one. This one's always going to wind up, this side will always wind up tighter than this side if you don't keep this one tight and close to the hook. So my first stitch is kind of loose, it's not tight and close to the hook, but after this I will be sure to keep this stitch tight and close to the hook. All right, so I'm going to work my way down to the other end, and I will show you exactly how I'm going to keep that stitch firm and how it looks. Of course, you won't really see it till after a few rows have been worked up. But we're going to work 4 full rows of simple Tunisian stitch. So we haven't even worked 1 full row yet. We will, whenever we pick up our stitches and go forward, 1 row will be completed. I'll show you what 1 completed row looks like so that you have a better idea of how your work should look. So I will be right back. Okay, making my way to the end here. You can see that first stitch is just loose and ugly. That's fine. All right, so to complete our first row, I'm going to keep this stitch close, not like this, close to the hook. Keep my work, keep my yarn wrapped it, just choke your hook with it basically, but not so tight, like don't pull on it, but definitely keep a pretty good firm tension on there. And you're going to pick up your first stitch. Actually, your first stitch is already on your hook. That's your first stitch. You're going to pick up your second stitch. We always ignore the edge loop. We never ever work into that. So the next bar over, go ahead and pick it up. Yeah, that's going to keep both stitches close to the hook now. That's okay. The next stitch you pick up, loosen it up a bit. There you go. And that's how you're going to keep your edges clean on both sides. You really want this to be tighter than these. That's just, you'll see. Okay, so you can see as I pull up a loop, it's pulling that chain. Here's our top chain here. Every time I pull up a loop, it's going to push that top chain down. Why can I not say top chain? There we go. Down, and it's going to fill in these empty voids right here. See how it fills it in? That is what 1 complete simple Tunisian stitch row looks like. So we'll watch that in real time. I go to pull up on the loop, and it pushes that chain down. Just like that. So this is 1 complete row. So you pretty much have to go forward and back to complete a row. There we go. Okay, I will be right back and I'll show you how we're going to finish off each row. Okay, coming up on the last few stitches here. That is my third to last. That is my second to last. My very last stitch, if you turn your work on the side, you will see what looks like the top of a single crochet right here next to the knot. We will work through both of those loops as if it were a single crochet. In order to access it, you have to physically turn your work towards you, and you will only work along this side. It will never be on the top. It will never be in the corner like this. This is not it. It's going to be physically turned to the side, and that's it right there. You will see one loop and the second loop, just like a single crochet. You'll go into that last stitch on the end. That is our chain 1 that we worked in the previous row. There we go. Pull up a loop, and don't pull it up super loose, but don't pull it, don't choke down tight on it, because this side is always naturally tighter. Just like that. Doesn't have to be super loose or super tight. Just pull through, and there you go. That's our chain 1, then pull through 2 and 2 all the way back. Now we are creating the foundation for our row 2. When we go forward, we work our forward pass, we will have completed row 2, because our forward pass will fill in these empty voids. So we are looking for 4 rows of simple Tunisian in the cherry. I'll be right back. Okay, coming up to the end here, pull through 2, then pull through 2. Now you see how much nicer this stitch here looks compared to this one that's too loose. So I'm going to do that again. Keep it close to the hook. Go into that second bar over and pull up a stitch, and it's going to be low as well. Then my third bar over, I make it a little looser. And then I try to keep it that same height throughout. But as you can see, it's not squeezing it so tight over here that it's misshapening it. It's going to be perfect. Not perfect, but you know, perfect. Just kidding. Okay, so this completes row 2, and you can see that now it is filled. Okay, so we need 4 rows like that. I'll be back whenever I have 4 rows. Okay, so now we have to change color. You're going to want to finish your 4th row after you change colors. Now, the 4th row color will still look like this chocolate cherry color that I have here, but we have to change color so that we don't have our bars going over the top of our new color. These red bars will go right over the top of our gray, and it won't look quite right. So we have to change color at the end of row 3. So, I'm sorry, at the beginning of row 4. So whenever your work looks like this, where you've got 3 solid rows plus your row up here with all the empty spaces, and you're down to just your last 2 loops on your hook, that's whenever you need to change colors. So getting my new color, it says that we're going to work 1 row in the light green. That's going to be my gray. 2 rows in the dark green, 1 row in the light, and then back to cherry again. We're going to repeat that over and over until we have 4 stripes of the dark green and 5 stripes of the cherry. Okay, so after you work your return pass and you've got your 3 solid rows done, you have 2 loops left on your hook, which is your last stitch. Go ahead and grab your new color and make a slip knot on it. Put that slip knot onto your hook and hold the tail back. Tension up your new color and pull through. Now you have successfully changed colors, and we're not going to carry the tails along. It's not really easy to do with Tunisian crochet, but now we just carry on. So here we go, picking up the next stitch over. And there we go. Now we have changed color, and you can see as we're working, we are creating that 4th row of the cherry, because this new color is not interrupting that process at all. If we were to change colors down on the other end, then we would have these red stripes going over the top of the gray, which would look really cool if the pattern calls for it. But in this case, they want color blocking, So the pattern it calls for a clean color change. And there we go. Our color is changed. So I will work forward, back, and that should do it. Okay, so working forward, I am creating my gray loops. On my return pass, I will create the gray chain, this portion up here. Then I will change color again after I have created the gray chain. Because whenever I switch over to green, that gray chain will be pushed down inside the stitch where it belongs, and I will be creating green loops to create 2 green rows. Okay, coming up to the end here, I turn to the side, and right there where I'm squeezing those 2 bars together, that's where I'm going to work my last stitch, just like it's a single crochet, just like that. And there we go. I don't pull up too tall on it, but certainly I don't keep it too loose. And that's my chain 1. Okay. I will change color again down at the other end of this row to the green. I'll be right back. Okay, so I have my last stitch left to work. There are 2 loops on the hook. I'm going to change color again to the green, and I'll just hold this back. And I already made my, well, it's a new skein, so it's all crinkled and wrinkled. There we go. I already made my slip knot. Tighten that onto my hook. Tension that up, keeping these stitches over here a little firm, and pull through. There we go. Okay, now I'm just going to go ahead and start working like that. Now, working these green stitches, these green loops, is pushing my gray chain down into the stitch where it belongs. So we have our 1 gray stripe. Okay, I'm going to work this all the way to the end and come back. I'll be right back. Okay, coming to the end of my green row here. That's got to be tightened back down. Okay, so I'm just going to continue to do this. I'm going to work these 2 green rows, and then I'm just going to pick up my gray yarn and start, and then I'm just going to pick up my gray yarn and start working the gray. Then I will pick up the cherry and start adding the cherry. I don't think these edges are going to matter too much, as there's going to be rounds sewn in around them, so it's okay if there are strands there, I think. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if I'm making a grave mistake here. Okay, so starting my second green row, then I will work the gray, then the cherry, then the gray, green, gray, cherry, over and over until I have, basically until I have 5 cherry stripes. Then we will move on from there. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, so I have worked, it looks like I'm not gonna, I wasn't sure how long this was gonna take me to make, so I'm not gonna be able to use my new hook because it's the same night. So this didn't take me very long at all, maybe about 2 hours, but I wanted to show you how nice the edges turned out when you work them firm on this side and then just a normal, like a normal moderate tension chain 1 on this side. It really works out nice, because that's one question I get a lot whenever we do Tunisian crochet, is how to keep the edges looking so nice and clean. And the answer is go firm on this stitch and then just keep this one your normal regular tension. Okay, because it turned out really good throughout. You can see it's pretty straight. All right, so the pattern now says at this point we're going to bind off with a single crochet, but bear in mind, here we go, this is a 1880s, 1890s UK Victorian era pattern. So those are the stitch terms that will be used in this pattern. And in that time frame, a slip stitch was, I'm sorry, a single crochet was a slip stitch. So, and of course, you're going to find that here in this reference guide. You can see that right here, single crochet, slip stitch. And you're also going to find that in these books, all these books, even the ones that, you know, are you can still find these books on the internet. You're going to see right here, single crochet, current American name. Well, I'm going to lose my page. Current American name is slip stitch. So from single crochet. So that is a slip stitch. And how we do this, let me get you down. Okay, so for a Tunisian crochet bind off, we're going to go under the first bar and work a slip stitch. And that's going to push that chain down to fill that empty void there. And there you go. That closes everything off. Oops. Okay, so just work this all the way to the end. And I did switch to a regular crochet needle, and that is because the remainder of this pattern will be worked with a regular crochet needle instead of the Tunisian crochet needle. Okay, well, I surely am slip stitching. I'm even slipping my hook off. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, so working our very last stitch is no different. We have to turn to the side and go under what looks like a single crochet. And there we go. Now it says, working along the side of our work. All right, so at this point, the pattern calls for long, loose trebles. Now, in the in the Victorian era, UK, and still to this day in modern UK, a treble is equal to a US double crochet. So long, loose trebles either means they want us to work really long double crochets. And no, they're not talking about what we here in the United States knows as long doubles, where you pull through one, then you pull through two, pull through two. That's not what they're referring to, because that wasn't really, that wasn't a stitch that existed in the UK in this time frame. So when I look at the photo, now the pattern only calls for us to do this once and then cut, weave in your ends, and repeat it on the other side. So it only wants us to work one row of what looks to me like double trebles. You know, those are very long stitches. So maybe what they are asking for is long, loose, double trebles. So maybe they're saying long treble, as in they want double trebles, because that's what a long treble is in the Victorian era UK, and even still today in the UK. A long treble or a double treble is a what we here in the US call a treble stitch, where you yarn over twice. Okay, so maybe using their stitch terminology, they want long trebles, meaning US treble crochets, but they want them to be loose. So I propose, I played around with that stitch a little bit. It is, I mean, everything is going to fall out of that bag. It is so, the stitches are long and loose, and you can put, this group of pins will just go right through it. It's not even a problem. So I propose a little bit of stability to the stitch, a little bit of security to the stitch. So let's try this on for size, and you guys let me know what you think. First things first, I'll do it the Victorian era way, at least the way that it is in the book. 2, 3, 4, we'll chain 4 for our first UK long treble, US treble. We yarn over twice, and in the next stitch over, we work a US treble, and then we just repeat that. Oh, we're supposed to be working them loose though, so let me go ahead and add another chain. So let's start with a chain of 5 to make up for the looseness. and work that really, really nice and loose. Like that. Just sort of yank up every time you pull through 2, yank up again to elongate that stitch. Yank up again. That is a long, loose treble. But I mean, you can drive a truck through that. So I have an idea. I have an idea that will stick to the spirit of the original pattern, but just adds a little stability to the stitch, to the walls, side walls of the bag. So let's go ahead and start with a chain of 4, but this does not count as a stitch. It is a builder. We're going to do linked treble crochet. So if you're familiar with linked double crochet, now you get to see how to do linked treble crochet. In the second chain from the hook, so here is, I'm going to working in the back bumps. Here is the first back bump. Here is the second one down. Go ahead and draw up a loop. Now in the next back bump down from that, draw up another loop. So you will note our first back bump is unworked, and so is the very last one we made. Now going into the same stitch we just chained 4 out of, go ahead and complete a treble crochet. Yarn over, pull through 2, but I'm going to stretch up because I want to make them loose, and pull through 2. Now you can see we have got 2, just like Tunisian crochet, because linked double crochet, linked treble crochet, it's essentially a variation of Tunisian crochet. You can see that, right? It is basically a variation of Tunisian crochet. Okay, so what we're going to do is you see the 2 vertical bars, ignoring the very top bar because that's the top of our stitch. These 2 middle vertical bars, go ahead and pull up 1 loop through that bar, just like Tunisian crochet. Pull up another loop through the next bar down. Now into the next stitch over, complete your treble crochet, but be sure that you elongate it, just like before. Elongate each stitch, and then we repeat. 1, 2, next stitch over, yarn over, pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2. And so, yeah, I mean, if you didn't know, now you do that. Linked stitches is basically Tunisian crochet. That's all it is. A linked double crochet, a linked treble crochet. It's Tunisian crochet. I should have one of those after school special with the rainbow, the more you know. Okay, so I propose doing this instead, and it seems like it's still not quite going to be long enough. Let's see here. The 2 would meet like that. Let's see here. We're looking at about a knuckles length. Okay. Yeah, I don't think it's going to close up that center hole quite enough. We'll see whenever we get to that point. If not, I might do a round of half double crochets or single crochets, just to kind of bring that down just a little bit, that center hole, which I don't have a ring for. But we can make our own ring, just it would be made with thread or yarn. But I'm not going to worry about all that. So actually what I'm going to do is at first I'm going to go ahead and make this for knitting needles. Then I'm going to go ahead and close it up because I'm a crocheter. So it'll be a bag for my crochet and not for knitting, not for my knitting, as that is not something I do. Okay, so I'm trying to make these long and loose. There we go. Now, not a whole lot more is going to fall out of that, and they are long and loose still. So the integrity of the pattern is still there. The spirit of the pattern is still there, just different. I'll be right back. Working our way all the way down to the end, I just have one last stitch to work on this row. I am going to work more than one row of this. There we go. Okay, bring these two sides. Look at how cool this looks on this side, by the way. I kind of really dig on this side. It kind of gives that Spanish blanket vibe. I like that. And you can see where I carried my work along. Okay. So now I'm just going to join with the slip stitch right into the top of my first stitch. There we go. And I'm going to do this again, chain 4, except for I'm going to work every other stitch. I'm going to skip a stitch after I work each stitch to close the hole up more. Okay, so back into my, let's see, yeah, back into my starting stitch. And I'm not going to worry about loose floppy stitches at this point. Okay. So that's 1, 2, not the next stitch, but the next stitch over. And this is what I will do all around, is skip every other stitch. And this will really close things off. So skip, then finish my stitch. 1 and 2. No yarn over. I keep trying to yarn over. It's so instinctive. Okay, skip, and then the next stitch over, complete my stitch. Now I will go 1 and 2, skip, and complete my stitch in the next stitch over. Okay, so I'm going to work this all around, and I will be back when I get back around to the beginning and show you what we're going to do next. Skip, and then the next stitch over. There you go, and it's really closing things off now. I'll be right back. Okay, so I just worked my last stitch. Now I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch into the first stitch I made, and I'm going to work one more round of half double crochets. That is really opened up there. I wonder if there's anything I can do about that. You know what? Just to close this off, I think I'll go ahead and work one more stitch right here, just because that was really opened up. There we go. That's better. Okay, chain 1 and work a half double crochet into the first stitch, yarn over, skip a stitch, half double crochet into the next. And I'm just going to repeat that all around. Skipping a stitch, working a half double crochet, skip, work a half double. Here we go. Skip, work a half double, skip, okay, coming up to the end here, I'm just going to join. And that leaves a hole large enough for your needles to come out of. And I'll chain 1. I'm going to leave a really long tail because I don't intend to use this for knitting. But in the meantime, before I close those ends up, I'll at least show what it looks like, because I do have knitting needles. So I will at least show what it looks like the way it was intended to look. But there is the hole for the knitting needles to come out of. I already did the other side. Okay, I've got some tails to weave in. Let me do that really quick, except for these long ones here. And I'm going to look at the pattern and see what we do next. Okay, so now for the top of the bag, we're going to start with some double crochet. The pattern calls for treble. In fact, it says to chain 4 for a treble crochet plus chain 1, which a chain 3 is a US double crochet, and that's what we'll be working is double crochets plus chain 1, that equals 4 chains. So let's see here. Do I want to start there? Yeah, I'm probably going to have to. Yeah. So I'm going to start. Gee, part of me wants to kind of sew that up right there, actually. You know, wondering if I shouldn't just sew this part shut and start right here. Looking at the bag, that seems right. Okay, so what I'm going to do actually is take my tail that I didn't weave in, and I'm going to go ahead and sew the top of this section over here shut. Really didn't think about that before. You can see I've got the circle is incomplete from here to here. So I'm just going to go ahead and sew this part shut on the inside. There we go. Okay. Then I'll weave this in. Well, and one more time, just for good measure. Okay. There. Now it's complete on that side. I need to do that over here too. I think I'll use my excess tail for that. Okay. Well, no, I need to do it now. Just a moment. Okay, so now I've got both of those points sewn shut. I don't know why I didn't think about that before. Okay, so now let's go ahead and join at the top here, or should I join here? I'm just going to join right there. It wants us to work some double crochet fillet stitches. So I'm not going to start with a chain 4. I am going to start with a stacked single plus chain 1. So here we go. Plus chain 1, skip 1, and in the next stitch over, work a double crochet. Chain 1, skip 1, work a double crochet, chain 1, skip 1, work a double crochet. I'll be right back. I'm going to work this all the way around to the beginning. Okay? All the way around. Okay, let's start the second round, and the second round is actually what we're going to work for the next 3 rounds. So rounds 2, 3, and 4 are going to all be the same. Again, it wants us to start with chain 4 to stand for a US double crochet plus chain 1. And I am going to instead start with my stacked single plus chain 1. Now into the chain space, we work a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet into the next chain space over. So this is going to be the repeat all around for rounds 2, which we're on now, rounds 3 and rounds 4. So I will be right back as soon as I am all done with round 4. Very, very simple. You'll come around and you'll join to the top of your starting stitch, then either chain 4 or work a stacked single plus chain 1, and into the next chain space. Continue to work in that same fashion. I'll be right back. Okay, so I worked all the rounds I was supposed to, and then I undid it because I found that the double crochet was just too short. So now I'm going to go back and do a UK long treble or double treble and a US treble. So I'll show you here. The pattern calls, it says right here with dark green, 1 treble on the first stitch of the tricot, 1 chain, miss 1, 1 treble on the next, and repeat. You're going to repeat that all around. Okay, so then the next round, we're going to start with 4 chains for a treble plus chain 1. And just to confirm, where are you? Right here. A long double crochet is a half double. An ordinary treble is a double crochet. A double treble is a US treble. And of course, you're also going to find that exact same language here in my reference guide. A ordinary treble is a double crochet, a US double crochet. So I'm actually going to work trebles because the double crochets were just not long enough. By the time I was working them, I had about this much height right here, and I need all of this. So I'm going to work this in treble, US treble, UK double treble, or long treble. So here we go. Chain 1, skip 1, and work a US treble crochet. Okay, so I will be back after I've worked a total of 4 rounds, exactly as I did before with the doubles, but instead with these US trebles. Okay, so round 5 was the exact same instructions, just with a different color. It wanted me to use the light green, so I went with my gray. So there we go, 5 rounds of the very large filet crochet. Now time to add the ribbon. I have still left this undone because I want to see this as a knit bag before I cinch it shut for my personal purposes of a crochet bag. Okay, so now time for the ribbon. I hope I have enough because I don't want to just do this pull straps. I kind of want to put ribbon in everything, and not as pull straps, but just more or less kind of like as filler, just to see how that looks, if that would even work out. So hopefully I have enough here for that. All right. And I think I'm going to close the ribbon ends with a bow, now that I know how to do a proper bow. Proper enough anyway. So it said to put your ribbon through the first, and then that's your first pull tie, and then through the second one down, and that's your second pull tie. So I'm going to go ahead and do that off camera since I've done that so many times on camera. It's just going to be a lot less cumbersome for me to be able to do this on my lap. So I will be right back. Okay, so I did not have enough of the burgundy, so I went with, at the bottom here, a green, red, green stripe, and I think it looks really cute, and I think it looks really cute all filled with ribbon, which isn't in the pattern, but I don't care. I think it looks pretty. I did go ahead and weave in these ends because I am going to use ribbon to actually cinch these holes shut with a little bow on the end of each one. But before I do that, I want to use it as an actual knitting bag. So in the Victorian era, we would have our pattern, and oh no, that's going to be for the crochet. I have some knitting hooks here from whenever, you know, one of the 128 times I tried to learn how to knit. My mind just doesn't seem to grasp it for some reason. So we'll probably go ahead and put the needles through some of this stuff here. Yeah, that's just going to go right on through. Just like engineering knits did. Ooh, it's stuck on that one there. It was stuck inside that one there. Okay, a little bit of thread and, of course, my reading glasses. And I have the little pull ties at the end, and there we go. This comes out. This, oh, it's that little thing on the end. There we go. So these knitting needles are a little bit too small for this, and the bag is probably too big. But, okay, so there you go. Hold on just a moment. Okay, there we go. Knitting needles coming out of both sides there. And I think this is super cute and super handy dandy. Let me try to back away a little bit so you can see that better. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to cinch up the sides to use it more of like a crochet bag. And yes, I agree. It definitely looks pretty Christmassy, this bag here. And there's how it opens back up. Let's take everything out. Okay. My glasses. All right. On the end here, what I'm going to do is get one of these here. My green one I normally use fell down the crack of the couch here where a lot of these needles wind up. That's their usual fate until I can get my little boy. He's 22, but he's so tiny. I get him to kind of slither his way down there and retrieve those kind of things for me. He's the littlest person in the house. Okay, so I'm just gonna weave this on through like this. I really didn't think that, oh no, it's okay. It's just going to be a bow right on top. It doesn't matter where it starts. Okay. So now that's shut. And I want that to stay put, so I will go ahead and just kind of double knot it a little bit. Okay, cute. Little bow on the end, and I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other side, and I think that is super cute. Okay, so now I've got those cute little bows on both sides, and I think it is just too cute. Let's see if I can zoom out any further. No, that's as far as it goes. Okay. So now we load it up with crochet goodies. Not that crochet goodies are that much different from knitting goodies at all, other than the needles. Well, you know, I might just stack them. Get my reading glasses and my hooks. Okay, there we go. Oh, that is so cool. I really like that. I just really like that a lot. There we go. I think it's fun. It's definitely Christmassy looking. That's for sure, but that's what's going to happen whenever you work reds and greens together, and you really can't see the gray too well. I was just inspired by what she made, and I'd seen this bag before, and I think what she made was so good that it inspired me. I had to make one of my own. And, you know, to her credit, where she was at when she made that, there was no ribbon available. So I did have an advantage of having actual ribbon at hand. And I love the drawstrings that she made on her bag. It is exactly what I would have done. I think that her bag was perfect. And I'm going to leave a video to her. I'm going to leave a link to her video down below. I highly encourage you guys to go check her out. If you've never heard of her, wow. Okay, she's engineering knits and she does all things antique knitting, crochet, embroidery, sewing. She's got a video where she essentially makes her own, I think she makes her own yarn. She teaches you how to repurpose old things, like if you go to the thrift shop and you find an old sweater with beautiful yarn, she shows you how to repurpose and unravel that sweater to keep the yarn. Like, she has an incredible channel. You guys really need to go check it out. Very, very interesting stuff over there. All right, you guys, let me know what you think. I love you lots. Half heart because I'm holding my phone up, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.